What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Charles here from the CG Sports Podcast, and today, guys, I got a quick video for you guys. I actually forgot to record like any kind of intro because this video is just kind of like a stream recap. So basically, to put it simply, last night we were supposed to do a sports casting video, but the game got canceled. So instead, we just took a quick look at a bunch of the free agency moves from day one, and I thought it was going to be pretty entertaining. So everybody in stream watched. We just talked about all the big moves. I gave a little analysis, talked about what I thought about it. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace. Yo, we could, you know what we should do? I could react to all the free agency shit that's been going on, and we could just talk about it. Y'all want to do that? Chat, what y'all think? Talk free agency day one. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. So we got a really large amount of news here. Alright. So the first thing that went down, Kyle Juszczyk agrees to a 5-year deal worth $27 million. Now here's my take on it. Personally, I don't remember how old. All right, now I gotta look this up. I gotta find out how old Kyle Juszczyk is. Okay, he's 29, so he's decently aged. Now, giving a fullback a 5-year deal to me just doesn't seem like the best idea, chat. So Kyle Juszczyk got signed to a 5-year deal worth $27 million. Now, to me, $27 million for a fullback is a lot of money, and I just don't think it's worth it to pay a fullback that much. But listen, Juszczyk is a big part of their offense. He does a lot more than the typical fullback does. Like, he's like one of those guys, like you see Anthony Sherman on the Chiefs, like he's a fullback, but like he really plays more like a running back. And I feel like fullbacks are going to be extinct from the NFL within the next 5 years. There will literally be none of them unless like some new style of offense comes out that completely changes everything. So this one, he plays a flex position. Yeah, exactly. He kind of moves around, plays at different places. But to me, definitely good for the Niners to sign him. He's a big part of their offense. Pretty solid to keep him. Next one. Okay, this is just a rumor. Kyle Long has visited with Chiefs and Raiders. Okay, I like this too. If he really is okay, it says he's unretired. So Kyle Long is a really solid O-lineman, and he could definitely play both the guard and the tackle positions. Although he's like a mainly guard, he can play the tackle as well. So I think that'd be big for the Chiefs, especially because they got rid of both their all-pro offensive tackles. So I think bringing him would be solid. But obviously, because he's unretiring, he's had that like full year off, and I feel like sometimes for players that actually makes them worse and they're less efficient. So I think this one could definitely work for them. And even for the Raiders, if you want to make a case for bringing in Russell Wilson, picking up a solid offensive lineman like this definitely makes your case a lot better. So yeah, this one, that looks like a pretty solid one. This one, Ravens signing Kevin Zeitler, I think is definitely another solid pickup. Zeitler is definitely a very good guard. I only watch him about 4 times a year when the Giants play primetime or when they play my Eagles twice a year. But from what I have seen, the dude's a pretty solid offensive guard. Great block, great pass block, great run block, just all around. A great offensive guard to have on your team. And he's not like a top tier right guard, but he's definitely like right below. Like, this is like best right guards in the league, or best guards in the league. He's like right down there. Like if we're talking like a tier list, like he's like A tier. He's not S tier, but I'll give him like A tier. He's pretty solid. I like Kevin Zeitler a lot. I think he's really good. And I mean, for the Ravens, it'd be pretty solid too, because the Ravens O-line has been, I mean, it's okay, but it hasn't been as good as it could be. So I think picking him up will definitely help them out, give Lamar a lot more time in the pocket to learn how to pass a football, and maybe he won't have to run as much. All right, next one. 8 teams have reached out about Sam Darnold. I mean, I think this definitely makes sense. Sam Darnold, we really don't know where he stands with the Jets as of late. So yeah, obviously a lot of people think that the Jets are going to draft a quarterback at 2, whether it be Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields, whichever one falls to them. So Sam Darnold being spoken to is definitely a good idea. He's a pretty solid quarterback, just really hasn't been put in the right situation. And I mean, we're going to see it later. The Jets have made some moves to get Sam Darnold some of the things he needs. We'll talk about that a little later though, but I definitely think it makes sense that these teams are trying to reach out. Darnold's a solid quarterback, just in a bad situation. I think he'll have a lot of success wherever he chooses to go. Alright, now the next one we got is Juju Smith-Schuster, who told his teammates he's likely to sign elsewhere in free agency. Now, how I feel about this is, listen, Juju, he's a pretty good receiver. I mean, he really made his name known, like, 2 seasons ago, and he was pretty solid this year too. But I mean, his whole TikTok dancing caused a lot of drama. The locker room presence he holds, it's just not the best thing to have on your team, and I don't think that's why the Steelers are going to give him up. I just think that the Steelers are just not a team. Obviously, they had a really solid year this year. I mean, they were undefeated until like week 12, but I don't think they're a team that's going to keep progressing. I think without Big Ben, they're going to slowly digress, and they have some young talent on this team, and I think it'd be smart for these guys to move elsewhere. I mean, you look at Devin Bush, obviously Juju, Chase Claypool, James Conner. These are still guys with a whole lot of years in their career, and spending it on a team that's going to digress like the Steelers just doesn't make sense. So I think it's smart for Juju to get out of Pittsburgh and maybe try to go to a bigger contender. And I'm pretty sure the number one team right now is the Packers. I want to say the Packers got the best odds to get him right now, so we'll see what happens with that. Maybe day 2, we'll find out. Now the next one, Titans tight end Jonnu Smith and wide receiver Corey Davis are both expected to depart, and I can confirm both of them do not play for the Titans as of today. From what we saw, both of them are no longer on the team. Next. So, I think this is a move that the Eagles 100% had to make, and I'm glad that they are doing it as an Eagles fan myself. Obviously, they traded away Carson Wentz to the Colts, and you kind of had to bring in a guy to play backup. God forbid something happens to Jalen Hurts. Like, God, please do not let that happen, but, you know, anything can happen. So I'm pretty happy with them bringing in Jacoby Brissett. I think he'll be a solid backup. And, I mean, they did have Nate Sudfeld as their backup, but I just think he's not going to get it done. So, solid pickup here. He's a pretty decent quarterback if you really do need him. And I think he'll be a great mentor to Jalen Hurts. All right, next one. Cardinals signing Marcus Golden to a 2-year deal. Now, obviously, he already played for this team, so there's not too much to talk about here. But Marcus Golden is a pretty solid defensive end. He's good with getting pressure. He could actually drop into coverage pretty well. One of the better defensive ends at doing that, in my opinion. And, yeah, not too much to talk about here. He'll pretty much have a similar role that he's had. Of course, they're bringing in J.J. Watt, so his job will definitely get a lot easier. But, yeah, so I think this is a pretty good job to bring him back. Just keep J.J. Watt, give him another solid pass rusher on the other side. And, yeah, not too much to say about this one. Next up, we have got Shaq Barrett. Shaq Barrett's re-signing with the Bucks. Now, I think this is one of those guys because, obviously, as we know, the Bucks have a ton of talent and a lot of guys that have to be paid. And you can't keep everybody. But I think Shaq Barrett was one of the guys that they do 100% want to keep. He's still got a lot of good years in him. He's a solid pass rusher. He could play defensive end and outside linebacker. He could do both, which is really good. And, yeah, I just think it was a great job to re-sign him because they really needed him. He's a great young guy, a great mentor to the young guys like Devin White, who I got a story about. I might tell y'all eventually. But, yeah, so solid pickup. Next up, we've got the Lions and defensive end Romeo Okwara agreed to terms on a 3-year deal. Now, honestly, I don't know too much about this guy because I don't watch too much of the Lions, but I do know this guy is like a diamond in the rough when it comes to the Lions defense. He's a pretty solid guy, and he's basically the only solid player on the Lions defense anymore. So good for them, good for Detroit to keep their only decent defensive player on the team. All right, next, here's where it starts. Here is where the Patriots' reign of terror on day 1 begins. Right here. This is where it starts. They start off, they sign tight end Jonnu Smith. This is a great deal for the Patriots. This is a big pickup for the Patriots. Jonnu Smith is a phenomenal receiving tight end. He had a pretty solid year last year with Tennessee. Obviously, they didn't go too far, but their offense was so high-powered, and it'll be interesting to see what Tennessee does next year because they just lost their tight end, and there's another guy they lost, which you guys are going to see a little bit later. But, yeah, Jonnu Smith, a big pickup for New England and a good start to kind of rebuilding their team. All right, next one. Another New England deal. They pick up the nose tackle, Devon Kodchaux. I think that's how I said his name, but this is a pretty solid pickup too. I mean, he's not too big of a name on that Dolphins defensive line. He's a pretty solid run stuffer, but other than that, doesn't really do too much. But of course, you know, any kind of help is definitely needed for New England, especially with their defense. Besides Stephon Gilmore, they really didn't have anyone. But do keep in mind with New England, they had a lot of players opt out of last season, and a lot of those guys are going to be coming back. Of course, Patrick Chung, Dante Hightower, just to name a few. There was a couple other guys. They actually had the most opt-outs of any team last year. So I think Devon will be a pretty solid run stuffer, and maybe he'll get to the quarterback from time to time, but still solid pickup. Next one, we have got the Texans signing veteran linebacker Kamu Grugier-Hill to a one-year deal worth $3.25 million. Now, for me as an Eagles fan, I know a lot about Grugier-Hill, and he's a pretty solid linebacker. He's a solid tackler. He's decent. I'll call him decent in coverage, but I think this guy has a lot of potential. He was hurt last year for a pretty good amount of games. He didn't play for most of the season, but I do think this guy has some serious potential, and I think with the right team around him, this guy can develop into a top 15, maybe even top 10 linebacker in the league. He's got the speed, he's got the agility, he's got the play recognition. If he just puts it all together, I think he could be a really solid linebacker in this league. So great pickup for the Texans to add to their defense. Obviously, they just lost J.J. Watt, so you had to bring in some kind of reinforcement. All right, next one. We've got the cornerback Jason Verrett re-signing with the 49ers on a one-year deal. Now I like this deal a lot. The Niners had the best defense in the league. You look last 2 seasons ago, they had the best defense in the entire league, and I don't know, it all just kind of fell apart. A lot of injuries last season, but I think this upcoming season, the Niners will bounce back. And I think re-signing Jason Verrett is huge. This dude is a really speedy man-to-man corner, and he's going to be super helpful for when you play teams like the Raiders or the Chiefs or the Ravens, teams with super speedy receiving cores or super speedy receivers. I think this guy will be a huge help for them, and I'm glad that they re-signed him. Next up, Viking superstar defensive end Danielle Hunter is unhappy with his contract situation and is exploring all options, including requesting a trade. Now, this is big because Danielle Hunter really came out onto the scene this past season, and I think he's going to be a serious guy to trade for. I'm not too sure who the top teams are to pick him up right now, but whatever team does trade for him is going to be picking up a superstar. I'm sure the Texans might even be looking to get him to replace J.J. Watt, but I don't know how likely it is that Danielle Hunter would want to play there. But I mean, if he wants to trade, it's not really his choice. I'm not too sure about what kind of trade the Texans would make. I mean, hey, Danielle Hunter for Deshaun Watson? Hey, chat. What do y'all think, man? You think they can make a package like that? Danielle Hunter for Deshaun Watson? I don't know. Maybe they make it happen. We'll see. Next one we've got here is a rumor that the Washington football team is interested in free agent Mitch Trubisky and Ryan Fitzpatrick. Now, I think if you're Washington, you don't want to go for Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's really old now. Obviously, he's still a good quarterback, but you definitely want to go with the younger guy to develop him. And I think Mitch Trubisky's the perfect guy for that. He's a young guy who has shown signs of having the it factor, but obviously he's been very inconsistent as of late, and I think maybe, just maybe, he could be the guy in Washington. Maybe. Giving this very slim chances. Obviously, he is going to be a free agent, so a lot of teams are going to be looking to sign him that need quarterbacks. I mean, even a team like the Panthers might pick him up. The Saints could pick him up. But I think the team with the best odds right now is the Washington football team. And I think they probably make the best use of him because the Washington has a pretty solid surrounding offense. I mean, the Vikings do too. But, we'll see how that one goes. Next up, this is more Patriots moves. Patriots are signing star pass rusher Matthew Judon to a 4-year, $56 million deal. Now, this I love, bro. I swear Matthew Judon is so slept on. And I don't like that they called him a pass rusher because he is more than just a pass rusher. He reminds me a lot of guys like Von Miller and Khalil Mack, guys who could play at defensive end and can play at outside linebacker. And that is the type of guy I want to see on that New England defense. They got a ton of veteran players: Jason McCourty, Devin McCourty, Dante Hightower, Patrick Chung, a bunch of different guys. They got a lot of veteran players. And for Matthew Judon kind of being a younger player in this league, I think having those veteran guys around him will help him develop into these. I mean, he's already a star. To help him develop into a superstar in a new situation under Bill Belichick. I think this is huge. The Patriots have made some huge deals on day one. On to the next one. All right, next up we got another Patriots deal. Now this one I don't like. They signed defensive back Jalen Mills to a 4-year, $24 million contract. Now listen, from an Eagles fan perspective, I am happy with this. I'm happy Jalen Mills is gone. But from an NFL, just regular fan perspective, this is horrible. This is horrible right now. Jalen Mills is burnt toast. He played cornerback for his first 2 or 3 years in the league. He kept getting burnt. They tried to move him to safety so he could just help. He still gets burnt. There's no hope for this guy. The only credit I could give to him is he's a great tackler in the open field. That's about all he brings to any team. Maybe with the veteran presence, just like I was saying about Matt Judon, maybe with the veteran presence is, there's a lot of great guys in the secondary. Patrick Chung, Jason McCourty, Devin McCourty, Stephon Gilmore. A lot of solid guys there. Maybe they can help him develop. But for me, I don't really like this move. Next up, we've got the Jaguars signing Bears defensive tackle Roy Robertson Harris to a 3-year, $24 million deal. Now, this guy's comment right here is pretty accurate. This is a overpay. This guy is really... They should play him at backer? Who you talking about? Mills? Nah, you're bugging. He's not big enough to do that. Alright, so back to what I was saying. The Jaguars are signing former Bears defensive tackle Roy Robertson Harris to a 3-year, $24 million deal. And that dude put it right on the money. This is an overpay. This dude does not deserve a $24 million deal. He just doesn't. He played with Khalil Mack and Roquan Smith. No kidding, you're going to be able to get pressure. Both those dudes are getting double teamed every time they blitz. But, listen, he's an above average defensive tackle, but he's nowhere near worth 3 years, $24 million. And for the Jaguars, I don't like this deal, man. But just on to the next. I don't even want to talk about this one. It's just disgraceful. Another one for the Jaguars. They are signing wide receiver / returner Jamal Agnew to a 3-year deal worth up to $21 million. Now this one, another overpay. 3 years, $21 million for a dude who's just going to return the ball? Is his name Devin Hester? Because if it's not, I'm not paying him $21 million to return a football. Agnew's a solid returner, but he's probably not even going to play wide receiver for your team. He's not. You know he's not. So this is just a waste of money. Simple as that. Between this trade or this signing and the last one, the Jaguars are just trying to put themselves over the cap limit. There's no other reason why you should have paid both those dudes so much money. Next, Jets are signing free agent linebacker Jarrad Davis to a 1-year deal. I like this deal. Chat, I like this deal. I like this one. This guy is a very underrated linebacker, dude. So underrated. This dude he has pretty solid speed. I'm not going to say he's the fast guy because he's not. There's a lot of guys fast him. But he's got really solid speed. He's got great play rec. He's a solid tackler. He can stuff the run. And he's just an all-around great linebacker. And I think personally that this dude could move to defensive end and maybe do some damage. But great signing for the Jets here. Great addition to the defense, 100%. Oh, I clicked off. My bad, chat. My bad. All right, next one. The Chiefs are signing superstar guard Joe Thuney to a 5-year deal. Now, I feel like this kind of rules out what we talked about earlier with Kyle Long, but Joe Thuney is a phenomenal offensive guard. He's elite, all-pro level, I must say. And I love this deal for the Chiefs. Maybe they're going to move him to tackle because of, the lack of offensive tackles on their roster right now, and maybe they're going to sign one later. But I think Thuney could make the transition to offensive tackle. I think he's athletic enough to make the transition, but all around a great addition to the O-line, definitely helping Mahomes. I think after that Super Bowl performance, they're really questioning their O-line and how important it really is. So great pickup for the Chiefs on this one. Next up, we got the Jets, who have been receiving calls from teams interested in trading for linebacker C.J. Mosley. Now, personally, if I'm the Jets, I'm not going to trade C.J. Mosley. He just opted out of last season. You don't really know how he's going to come back just yet. So maybe it would be worth it to trade him while his value's still high. But for me personally, you just picked up a guy in Jarrad Davis, who's a younger guy. I think Mosley could definitely be that veteran presence for him, help him develop, become a better player. And I think them two playing together would be a phenomenal linebacking duo. Obviously, Mosley really hasn't been the same since he left Baltimore, but he's still a pretty solid linebacker in the league, and I think he'll definitely have an impact if they do decide to keep him. Next up, We got the Browns signing free agent safety John Johnson to a 3-year deal. Now, I think this was necessary because the Browns secondary outside of Denzel Ward has been nothing short of disappointing. So I think this is a good trade right here. John Johnson, a great coverage guy. And I think he's one of the better blitzing linebackers in football. I think he's really underrated with that. And similar to Jalen Mills, he's a great tackler in the open field. Just an all-around solid safety to have. And now, on to the next one. Chargers signing All-Pro center Corey Linsley to a 5-year, $62 million deal. I don't really know how to feel about this one. I don't really think the Chargers needed a center that much to where they should pay this man 5 years, $62 million. But hey, that's their decision. I think this signing was kind of unnecessary. I don't think having a center of this caliber was really that important, especially for the Chargers. But they did it, and they paired him with Brian Bulaga again. So that's good. Next up, we got the 49ers are signing outside linebacker Samson Ebukam to a 2-year deal. I love this. I love this one. This is another solid deal. Samson Ebukam, another great all-around linebacker. Like I said, the man can play coverage. He can shoot the gap, tackle in the open field, has great play recognition, does everything you could want out of a linebacker. And if they do manage to keep their defense, like most of their guys together, he'll be a great addition. He'll make up for what Fred Warner did because, of course, he's not there anymore. And, yeah, on to the next one. Texans are signing defensive tackle Maliek Collins to a 1-year deal worth up to $6 million. I think this is a very solid one. Maliek Collins is a really good player. I think he's pretty underrated for the Cowboys. Definitely, like, similar to the last defensive tackle we talked about from the Dolphins. Just pretty much just a run stuff for just a guy that's going to make a tackle if the ball gets ran into the middle. Not going to get too much pressure, but sometimes it's all you need out of a guy like him. So I think this is a solid pickup for the Texans, and I think they paid a good amount of money for him. Next, Steelers are re-signing cornerback Cameron Sutton to a 2-year deal. Like this top comment says right here, underrated corner. This dude played next to Joe Hayden, so I feel like he loses a lot of credit because he wasn't the #1 guy, but this guy is a pretty solid cornerback. And when you've seen the Steelers playing against teams who had 2 solid receivers, like, for example, if you want to take the Eagles, right? They played them when they had Deshaun Jackson. And who was playing #2 receiver that day? I believe it was Fulgham, and Fulgham was on like a hot streak. And this dude right here held that man. Held that man. Heavily. So I think this is a big move for the Steelers. Definitely want to keep this guy. He's going to develop into one of the better corners in the league, I think, in the next couple years. And yeah. Raiders are closing in on a 1-year deal with star defensive end Yannick Ngakoue. This is huge, bro. This is a huge trade right here. Ngakoue is a beast of a defensive end. He was so good on the Jaguars. He came to the Vikings. He was injured for a majority of weeks, but he's still a solid defensive end. This dude is so good at getting QB pressure, and he's so solid off the edge. If that run comes to his side, he's breaking off his man and making that tackle 100% for a TFL. So that is a phenomenal deal for the Raiders to bring him in and really make a case for Russell Wilson, man. Make that defense look nice. He don't got to do as much. Bring him in, man. Patriots are signing free agent receiver Nelson Aguilar. Now, this is a trade I can get behind. Nelson Aguilar just got off one of the best seasons of his career. Obviously, the year before this past season, he was on the Eagles. He was an absolute disappointment. He was really on and off, but he really seems to find his place in Las Vegas. They signed him to a 1-year deal. He had a great season. Probably his best season of his career besides his 2017 to 2018 season. That was definitely his best season. But this is obviously a speedy guy. Definitely improved his hands. Very elusive in the open field. And it's just another weapon to add to that Patriots team's offense. Huge pickup for them. Rams have agreed to terms of pass rusher Leonard Floyd. Leonard Floyd is a beast, but paying him $16 million a year is way too much for what he does on the team. He's really not even like a top 3 player, top 5 player on their defense right now. I think they overpaid for him, but hey, it is what it is, man. He'll keep doing his thing, but I think this was an overpay. Could have paid him less money. Next, Broncos are signing former Washington quarterback Ronald Darby. This is a W, man. Darby, even though he's getting a little older, is still a solid corner, and the Broncos need corner. Shout out my boy Paul. He's a Broncos fan. We were talking about it the other day that the Broncos need cornerbacks, and they got a pretty solid one here as long as he could stay healthy. He has had injury problems in the past couple years, but if he could stay healthy, he could be a decent cornerback on their team. Next, Bucks are re-signing Rob Gronkowski to a one-year deal. Not too much to talk about here. Paying Gronk only $10 million a year is actually a W. But yeah, I'm glad they brought him back for another season. He'll be pretty solid for them. We all know what he does already. We watched him in the Super Bowl and all that other good stuff. So, yeah. That's about all I got to say on that one. Next, Patriots are signing Kendrick Bourne. Another W pickup for them. Kendrick Bourne is a speedy guy, just like Nelson Aguilar. Just like Nelson Aguilar. Guy has speed. He's elusive in the open field. Has good hands. And can just make things. He just makes things happen when the ball is in his hand. Simple as that. Another solid pickup for them. But you might want to get a bigger wide receiver because they're just grabbing a ton of these small, speedy slot receivers. Next, Philip Dorsett signs with the Jaguars. Not too much to talk about on this one. Pretty much the same thing, just a speedy guy. Obviously, he was with the Colts, but he signs with the Jaguars. Pretty solid pickup for them. Just another guy that for Trevor Lawrence to throw the ball to. That's all I got to say. Next, Jaguars signing free agent running back Carlos Hyde. Now, this is a solid deal because the Jaguars, once they got rid of Leonard Fournette, obviously they drafted James Robinson. He's been solid, but there hasn't been a guy to really go behind him or even in front of him. So Carlos Hyde will definitely be another pickup that'll be solid to add to that running back core. Next, Seahawks coach Pete Carroll has a high opinion of Sam Darnold and could end up training for the Jets quarterback if Seattle deals Russell Wilson. Now this is big news right here, man. Pete Carroll just said that he is on board to flip Darnold for Wilson. Now, obviously, they'd have to throw in something else to make this trade happen, but Pete Carroll clearly saying it's on the table, and this is huge. This is huge news right here. But I don't think Russell Wilson's going to get traded. I don't think he's going to get traded. Next. This is a big deal. This is a W right here. Free agent wide receiver Corey Davis signing a 3-year, $37 million deal with the Jets. This is huge. Corey Davis is coming off one of the best seasons of his career. Him and A.J. Brown went crazy. Him and A.J. Brown went crazy as a dynamic duo. Corey Davis, really, I mean, he did have the spotlight on his own, but now he'll really be able to be that solidified wide receiver one unless the Jets manage to get another great wide receiver that's going to be in front of him. But Corey Davis, definitely a solid receiver, speedy guy, great hands. And, yeah, just a great pickup for the Jets. This is huge for whoever is going to be the quarterback for the Jets next season. Next, Giants signing free agent running back Devontae Booker. Now, I do know who this dude is, but I don't know too much about him. I don't understand why you would sign him either because you have Saquon Barkley and Wayne Gallman. No need for a third running back. Next, Titans are signing Bud Dupree. This is a deal I like. This one I like. The Titans have a pretty solid defense. Of course, they're going to have Jadeveon Clowney. They're going to have Kevin Byard, Adoree Jackson. And picking up another pass rusher to go on the other side, Jadeveon Clowney will wreak havoc for whoever they play. This is a huge pickup. If Bud Dupree can stay healthy, he'll be a beast. But paying him 5 years, $82 million is a little bit much, in my opinion. Next. This, Carl Lawson, I mean, he's cool. But yes, it's a solid pickup. The Jets are going to have more pass rush now, and he's a solid run stuffer. What more can I really say about him? We don't know much. Next, Saints are re-signing quarterback Jameis Winston to a one-year deal worth a max value of $12 million. Now, this I like because obviously without Drew Brees, you're just stuck with Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill. Now, we don't really know what the plan is, whether it's to develop Winston or to rock with Taysom Hill, or if they want to keep Taysom Hill in that Swiss Army knife, I could play anywhere kind of package, and then let Winston be the guy. We'll see where it goes from there, but I believe that is it. We're going to refresh this page in case something else happened, but I really doubt anything happened. Oh, we do have some news. 8 minutes ago, Bengals are finalizing a contract with free agent pass rusher Trey Hendrickson. Winston doing good next year? You keep saying that, Paul. You keep saying that. 4 years, 60 million for Trey Hendrickson is a extreme overpay. Paying a dude like this 50 million a year just for having a slightly above average season last year. He did not earn 15 million a year. Overpay from the Bengals. Alright boys, that is going to do it for this video. I hope all of you guys enjoyed. Make sure y'all follow all my socials. They are linked down in the description. Make sure y'all come to my Twitch. We're streaming every single day, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.